What if the reason you feel entirely depleted at like 8 o'clock at night isn't actually because of the physical work your body did?
Oh, that is a big question.
Right. Like, what if it's just the sheer volume of chaotic noise your senses consumed all day?
Yeah, we totally view our exhaustion as this purely physical problem.
Exactly. But what if it's actually a structural one? So today we are opening up what is essentially a literal operational manual for the modern soul. Our mission today for this deep dive is to unpack this profoundly practical set of translated excerpts from a writer named Sui Feng.
Yes, and specifically we're looking at the Morning Sutra, Noon Sutra, Evening Sutra, and Night Sutra.
Yeah, and with this translation edited by Kinyu, okay, let's unpack this because what this text offers is a way to calm a restless mind.
Right.
And it doesn't do it by, escaping the world.
Right, it's not about running away to a cave.
Exactly. It breaks your 24 hours into 4 distinct spiritual check-ins. It actively anchors your mindset to the literal arc of the sun.
And honestly, it operates on a scale that is genuinely staggering. Like, this isn't some generic mindfulness exercise telling you to just take deep breaths.
Sure, yeah.
The text seamlessly blends the incredibly mundane realities of your daily routine, eating breakfast, sweating at work, hearing the neighbor's television with this sweeping cosmic architecture.
It's wild how it connects those things.
It really is. It provides a framework where the microscopic details of your Tuesday afternoon are directly linked to the infinite dimensions of the universe. It kind of demands that you reorient your entire place in the cosmos before you even pour your morning coffee.
I love that. So let's look at how it actually tells you to begin. We start at the dawn, right, with the Morning Sutra.
Right where the day begins.
Yeah. So before the emails pile up and the commute starts, the text insists on setting the mind's baseline by forcing this massive shift in perspective.
A huge shift.
It opens by stating, the mysteries of the universe are infinite and endless. So it juxtaposes that massive scale with the reality that human life is finite, but the operation of the Tao is infinite.
What's fascinating here is that this is a deliberate psychological zooming out.
Right.
The Tao, in this context, refers to the fundamental underlying natural order of the universe. So before you can get tangled up in your finite daily anxieties, the text forces you to acknowledge that vast infinite system.
Which can make you feel tiny, honestly.
Right, but the goal isn't to make you feel insignificant. The text actually immediately pivots to empower you. It outlines that while there is a hierarchy in the universe, nobility and lowliness, this hierarchy is not determined by random fate.
Or like a roll of the dice.
Exactly. It depends entirely on your own rigorous self-cultivation.
And there's this incredibly vivid progression it outlines to illustrate that cultivation. It says, today I am ordinary, tomorrow I am mediocre. 10 years of cold and heat transforming stone into gold. After 50 years old, walking with the gods.
That is such a powerful image.
It really is. That framing completely redefines spiritual work as this slow, deliberate burn. It's a daily practice of accumulation, and it places a massive emphasis on acquiring wisdom to fuel that journey.
Especially highlighting reading, right?
Yes, exactly. It argues that among all the myriad affairs of life, reading is the most vital because it clarifies principles. Like once those foundational principles are clear, the actual doing of things naturally succeeds.
And then, the internal work of reading is paired with the external necessity of community.
Oh, right.
The text urges you to seek out good friends, noting that they help you find your way back when you're lost.
I found the phrasing there so striking. It says, good friends turn loneliness into fairyland.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah. It makes the morning routine sound less like a software update and more like tuning a really complex instrument. You're finding your absolute baseline pitch through reading and connection.
So that when the noise hits, you know when you're out of tune.
Exactly. But this actually brings up a major point of friction for me.
Okay, what is it?
Well, the text explicitly states, busy hustle does not equate to diligence.
Yeah.
That flies completely in the face of our modern grind-set culture. I mean, we treat constant motion and being perpetually busy as the ultimate badge of honor.
Oh, 100%.
Like, try telling a startup founder or a stressed-out parent that their busy hustle isn't actual diligence.
Well, we do tend to confuse sheer movement with meaningful progress. We assume if we're sweating and stressed, we must be generating value.
Exactly.
But the Morning Sutra actively dismantles that assumption. It argues that pursuing endless desires and trying to secure victories through clever cunning actually just wastes your time.
It obscures your understanding of life.
Right. True diligence is redefined here as acting in accordance with those heavenly principles we just mentioned. The text uses the imagery of nature to explain this. It says, water flows and forms a stream, and trees grow into a forest.
Because water isn't stressing out about becoming a stream, right? It's just following gravity. A tree is being diligent every single day. It absorbs sunlight, but it certainly isn't hustling. It's about an inevitable, natural growth rather than forcing an outcome.
And the objective of the morning is to align your mind with that effortless flow. The text describes the ideal morning heart as a clear mirror, unstained by dust and impure emotions.
A clear mirror.
Yeah, think about how a mirror functions. It reflects whatever is placed in front of it perfectly, but it doesn't hold on to the image once the object is removed.
Oh, that makes sense.
If you can achieve that clear mirror state, the merits and faults of yesterday, or the anxieties of the coming afternoon, they won't stick to you before you've even stepped out your front door.
But see, there's a huge vulnerability in that clear mirror state.
How so?
Well, the second you walk out that door, society demands you start competing. The world immediately starts throwing mud at the glass.
That is very true.
So how does this framework protect that morning clarity when you're suddenly thrust into the rat race of the afternoon? And I guess that is exactly the problem the Noon Sutra tries to solve.
It is. We move into the heat of the day.
Right, the sun rises to its peak. We move out of quiet reflection and into the active, sweaty reality of navigating the physical world. The text acknowledges this explicitly. It mentions toiling under the blazing sun and sweating profusely.
Yeah, it doesn't shy away from hard work.
Not at all. But it claims this toil isn't just for bare survival, it is for the pursuit of a beautiful life.
And a beautiful life in this noon context is defined by a radical, almost stubborn simplicity.
Yes.
The text deliberately contrasts the reader's path with the ambitions of the masses. While others exhaust themselves seeking rare delicacies, the text finds profound comfort in simple, coarse meals.
It's a huge contrast.
While society chases physical beauty and refined elegance, this framework prioritizes rugged health. It explicitly states it is unafraid of having a dark complexion from working out in the sun.
It is so incredibly grounded in the physical reality of labor. It literally declares, I cannot command the winds and rains, but I can raise pigs and sheep.
It forces your focus entirely onto the tangible elements of life you can actually control.
And here's where it gets really interesting. To illustrate the trap of ambition, the text brings in a striking piece of imagery. It describes the kunpeng bird,
The kunpeng, yeah.
which, for context, is a massive mythological creature in Chinese folklore. It describes it soaring high up, its wings brushing the low-hanging clouds. But right below it, there is a little oriole bird, just singing sweetly while nestled in the local forest.
Such a great metaphor.
Society constantly pressures you to be that giant kunpeng. We're told to conquer our industries, maximize our potential, dominate the skies.
Right, we're conditioned to look at the massive wingspan of the kunpeng and feel this deep sense of inadequacy if we realize we're simply an oriole in the woods.
That constant upward comparison generates endless anxiety.
Oh, absolutely. But the text pierces that anxiety with a vital question. It asks, everyone has their own life story. Why compare it with mine?
Why indeed?
It fully acknowledges that some individuals possess grand strategies to reach the heavens. But it counters that ambition by celebrating the quiet beauty of playing your own little nocturnes.
Little nocturnes is such a beautiful way to frame a quiet, ordinary life.
It really is.
But I have to challenge this underlying philosophy for a second.
Sure, go ahead.
The text leans heavily into ideas like gold is produced in the southern mountains, silver in the north, and wolves eat meat, sheep eat grass. All these are heavenly arrangements.
Right.
If we're meant to just accept our assigned station, like accepting that we are a sheep, or merely silver from the north, that sounds dangerously fatalistic.
I can see why it sounds that way.
It sounds like a mandate to never strive to improve your lot in life.
Hmm.
I see the logic of avoiding comparison, but how does an ordinary person live this out without just giving up on their goals?
That is a common and completely valid friction point when analyzing Eastern philosophical frameworks through a modern lens. But the mechanism here isn't fatalism. It's the elimination of the profound suffering caused by misaligned expectations.
Okay, unpack that.
Think of these heavenly arrangements not as a prison sentence, but as your current operating parameters. If a sheep spends its entire lifespan looking up at a wolf and resenting the universe because it cannot eat meat, it completely ruins its own experience of eating grass.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it misses the actual nourishment available to it.
Exactly. The text is urging the reader to stop resenting the heavens for perceived unfairness and to stop carrying bitterness toward neighbors or circumstances.
So it's about radical acceptance of your present reality,
Hmm.
which ironically frees up the energy you were wasting on resentment so you can actually work with the materials you have.
That's spot on. The text emphasizes that true renewal only happens when you focus your diligence on your own specific patch of land. That's why the climax of the Noon Sutra is a mandatory midday self-audit.
The midday audit.
Right in the blinding heat of the day, when tempers are shortest and the work is hardest, you pause and ask your own heart, have I harmed heaven, earth, or man?
And if you haven't,
If you can answer no, the text claims you are instantly revitalized. Your life, as it says, renews itself every day because your mirror is still clear. You're entirely present in your own moral and practical reality.
that's incredibly practical.
Mhm.
But eventually the sun goes down, the physical labor stops, but the mudslinging just moves indoors.
It does.
We transition into the evening sutra, and the physical exhaustion of the afternoon is immediately replaced by intense sensory and mental overload.
The evening noise.
The imagery used here feels shockingly modern, even though the text's roots are ancient. It describes people returning home weary, their bodies and minds entirely drained. And then, the jarring reality of the evening hits.
The text lists these distractions with incredible vividness, actually.
Yeah, it really does.
It talks about the TV turning on, phones ringing nonstop, neighbors calling out, karaoke bars, dance halls, and night markets all flourishing in the dark.
It's sensory overload.
It uses a deeply evocative phrase to capture the psychological toll of this noise, describing these worldly disturbances as scratching at the heart.
Scratching at the heart is the perfect diagnosis for the modern condition.
It really captures it.
It's the exact feeling of doom scrolling on the couch at night. You casually open an app to unwind, and you're instantly bombarded with outrage, comparison, and noise that just incites and arouses your emotions.
You're exhausted, but you are paralyzed by the feed.
Exactly. And in the text, we have references to Bodhidharma and the ancestor of Buddha placed right next to karaoke bars and ringing cell phones. So, what is the listener actually supposed to do with this at 8 p.m.? Are we instructed to just shut off the Wi-Fi, sit in the dark, and stare at a wall to protect our peace?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the text uses these very relatable modern distractions to illustrate a timeless mechanism of human suffering. It asks why life is so full of pain and answers with the image of Buddha smiling, revealing that the root of all suffering lies entirely within the heart. Specifically, it stems from the impurity of the six senses.
So it's not the phone itself.
Exactly. The issue isn't that the karaoke bar or the smartphone exists. The issue is that our senses are constantly reaching out, grabbing onto these external stimuli, and dragging that chaos inside to scratch at the heart.
Oh, I see.
The solution offered isn't necessarily retreating to a cave. It requires changing the internal processing of that input. Bodhidharma, who you mentioned, is a foundational figure in Zen Buddhism, famous for supposedly staring at a cave wall for 9 years to achieve enlightenment.
Right.
The text brings him up to contrast his ultimate internal focus with our ultimate external distraction.
It instructs the reader to relinquish what needs to be relinquished and to embrace tranquility. But stepping away from the noise, especially when the group chat is blowing up or the news cycle is spinning, that requires a massive perspective shift.
It does. And to facilitate that shift, the Evening Sutra introduces a remarkably bold universalist theology.
This part blew my mind a little bit.
It states that the supreme ruler of the universe, the greatest creator, is the exact same entity as the ancestor of Buddha and Allah.
It really just connects everything.
It explicitly claims that the core texts of the Bible, the Quran, and Buddhist scriptures are all maps pointing to the exact same ultimate truth. By forcing the reader to zoom out to this massive, unified spiritual reality, the immediate, frantic importance of the ringing phone or the trending topic begins to shrink.
It gives you a much larger map to look at, which makes your immediate living room feel a lot more manageable.
And the text pushes further, revealing that the Buddha's land isn't some imaginary, cloudy paradise you travel to after death. It states that its true forms reveal themselves right here, in the 33-dimensional space.
33 dimensions.
Yeah, and in this framework, dimensions aren't just sci-fi parallel universes. They represent layers of reality and perception that are currently obscured by our earthly attachments and our impure senses.
So how do you get there?
To navigate through the illusions of daily life toward that higher dimensional reality, you have to light what the text calls a heart lamp. You use faith and devoted cultivation to transform your mind from the inside out, illuminating the darkness of the evening.
And it grounds that lofty concept with a very practical reminder. It notes that a 9-story tower starts from a pile of earth. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Very grounded.
It means that every single thought you have while sitting on your couch, every second you choose not to engage with the noise, is golden. Like you're building that 9-story tower of spiritual cultivation right there in your living room, amidst the ringing phones, simply by choosing to quiet your mind.
Which brings us to the final and most profound phase of the cycle.
The Night Sutra.
Eventually, the doom scrolling stops. The screens go black. The noise of the evening subsides, and we enter the deep night.
The deep night. The text sets the scene beautifully, actually. The birds are silent, the stars are twinkling, and occasionally a single dog barks in the distance.
It's incredibly atmospheric.
The frantic activity of the day is gone, and you're left completely alone with your own thoughts. We move away from the psychological advice of the evening and step directly into raw, cosmic accountability.
The Night Sutra pulls the curtain all the way back on the universe's architecture. It outlines that the universe is structurally divided into 36 dimensions, operating through the dynamics of the 5 elements.
36 dimensions now.
Right. It then categorizes all life into 18 distinct ranks, ranging from the ignorant and worldly beings up through mortals, sages, and finally to saints.
It draws an absolute hard line between the physical body, which is subject to the mundane realities of life and death, and the spiritual body, which the text insists is eternal.
Yes, the eternal spiritual body.
And to explain how we navigate this, it breaks human nature down into 4 distinct components. There's material nature, animal nature, human nature, and Buddha nature.
This raises an important question about how we operate.
Right, because material nature is just the urge to exist. Animal nature is our base, reactive survival instinct. Human nature encompasses our complex intellect and emotions. And then Buddha nature is pure, detached awareness.
Exactly.
The entire overarching goal of this daily operational manual is to elevate your spiritual nature away from the animal and material, so you can ascend to higher celestial realms and escape the cyclical sufferings of human life.
But paired with that immense potential for ascension is a stark, unflinching doctrine of cosmic cause and effect.
This is the heavy part.
This is the moment the text demands the absolute most from its reader. It states plainly that while joy and sorrow, or partings and reunions, might depend on the flow of fate, actual misfortune and poverty have their literal origins in our own actions.
Okay, this is where I have to pause and push back. Because the phrasing the text uses is incredibly difficult to digest.
It's challenging. Yes.
It explicitly says collapsing walls, falling houses, and car accidents are not mere bad luck. Illness and disaster come from my own wrongdoings. I understand the concept of taking responsibility, but saying that a car accident or a house collapsing in a storm isn't bad luck, but a direct result of my own wrongdoing. I mean, that is a massive mental leap.
It's a huge leap for most people today.
In our modern context, that reads entirely like victim blaming. If a hurricane destroys a town, how is the listener supposed to interpret a text that suggests the residents brought the falling walls upon themselves?
That visceral reaction is entirely expected, and it requires us to step completely outside our modern, individualistic, single lifespan worldview to understand the mechanics the text is employing here.
Okay, so how do we look at it?
We must examine this impartially through the lens of deep Eastern karmic traditions. The text operates on the foundational premise that the vast world is intensely fair, and the universal law is that you reap what you sow.
But not in a single lifespan.
Exactly. When it speaks of wrongdoings causing a falling house or an accident, it is not describing immediate physical cause and effect within a single Tuesday. It is not saying you lied to your boss this morning, therefore your car brakes failed this afternoon.
Okay, so it's describing a mechanism that operates on a much larger scale than our daily physical reality.
It's pointing to a massive cosmic spiritual accountability that stretches across those 36 dimensions and inherently across multiple existences. Because the framework assumes the spiritual body is eternal, the physical events a person experiences in this brief, finite life, even the sudden, tragic ones, are viewed as the eventual ripples from deeper karmic origins.
Ripples from the eternal past.
Right. These ripples stem from moments where the spiritual body operated out of its reactive animal or grasping material nature rather than its pure Buddha nature. The text's aim is not to assign petty blame to victims of circumstance.
And what is the aim?
Its ultimate aim is to enforce the idea that your spiritual cultivation, The purity of your inner mirror is the singular driver of your reality across the cosmos. It's a radical call to take absolute ownership of your eternal spiritual state, removing the concept of random victimhood entirely.
Wow. It is essentially telling you that in the absolute stillness of the deep night, when there are no emails to hide behind and no karaoke bars to distract you, you cannot blame bad luck or external circumstances for your spiritual weight.
You're completely accountable.
You have to look at the ceiling and honestly assess your own frequency. Like, am I elevating my Buddha nature today, or did I let my animal nature run the show during that afternoon meeting?
And that honest accountability is the exact mechanism that determines whether your spiritual light is heavy in sinks or is light enough to ascend to a higher dimension.
It's a profoundly heavy realization to carry with you as you drift off to sleep.
It is. But simultaneously, it is the ultimate form of empowerment. It dictates that your quiet actions, your internal thoughts, your refusal to compare yourself to the kunpeng bird at noon, they truly matter on a cosmic, eternal scale.
It really brings the entire 24-hour journey full circle. So let's recap this incredibly rigorous grid that Sui Feng Sutras offer us to place over our day.
Let's do it.
We started with the intention of the morning dawn, setting the heart as a clear mirror before the noise begins, and recognizing that true diligence is swimming with the current of the Tao, not just blindly hustling for the sake of sweat.
Right.
Then, under the blazing competitive sun of noon, we practiced diligent contentment. We refused the urge to compare our little nocturne to the grand strategies of others, and we performed our midday audit to ensure we haven't harmed heaven, earth, or a fellow man.
And then, as the evening fell and the modern worldly disturbances began scratching at our hearts, we engaged in sensory detachment. We recognized that the root of all our doom-scrolling suffering originates within our own senses.
Yeah, lighting that heart lamp.
Exactly. We chose to light a heart lamp to navigate the digital and physical noise. Finally, in the deep stillness of the night, we faced our cosmic accountability, weighing our eternal spiritual body against the vast, 36-dimensional architecture of the universe.
It's an operational manual that demands you pay deep attention to the mundane moments. The next time your alarm blares and the morning chaos tries to pull you under, you actually have a framework to push back.
You're not just at the mercy of the day anymore.
No. You can stop and ask yourself, am I frantically trying to be the giant kunpeng bird right now when my actual parameters mean I'm meant to be the oriole in the forest? Or is my heart reflecting the world like a clear mirror today? Or am I holding on to the dust?
It provides the precise tools necessary to find profound stillness inside the relentless motion of the modern world.
It really does. And I want to leave you with one final lingering thought to ponder tonight right before you fall asleep. If our spiritual nature and our daily cultivation truly dictate our reality across these 36 dimensions, as the Night Sutra claims, then when the sun rises tomorrow morning and the cycle inevitably restarts, are you just waking up to repeat the exact same yesterday? Or, based on the difficult inner work you did the night before, are you actually waking up in a slightly higher dimension?